All right, so we're going to take a deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, yeah.
This book.
Classics.
It's been like a financial Bible for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see if its wisdom still holds up, all these years later.
Yeah.
Especially for you. Now, you're interested in using your Spanish skills to kind of, build wealth and all that.
Right.
So we're going to kind of explore that angle specifically.
Okay.
And to help us unearth all those golden nuggets, we've got Google's notebook, LMAI.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be pulling up quotes and insights straight from the book.
Awesome.
So we can really get into it.
I love that.
So one of the things that Rich Dad, Poor Dad really, kind of put a spotlight on was this whole lack of real-world financial education that we get in traditional schooling.
So true.
Like, Kiyosaki's point, and it still resonates today, is that schools don't really prepare us for, like, the actual financial realities of life.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
So,
like, we learn all this other stuff.
right.
But when it comes to money, it's like...
crickets.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of leave us hanging.
They're like, figure it out.
Exactly.
And so you might be wondering, okay, well, how does this relate to me wanting to, hablar en español and all that?
Right.
Well, hold that thought.
Okay.
Because it ties in really beautifully with how Kiyosaki compares the Rich Dad and the Poor Dad perspectives.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And so...
Let's see what Notebook LM pulls up about that.
Okay.
Here's a classic quote. Rich Dad, the poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them.
Oh, wow.
Powerful stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like he's highlighting that financial success, it's not just about how much you earn,
Right.
but how you actually make your money work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in today's world, it's so complex.
Well,
it's not as straightforward as it used to be.
No.
You got to be savvy.
You really do.
You got to have a strategy.
And that's actually a great segue to one of Kiyosaki's biggest ideas, which is this whole concept of the wealth mindset.
Right.
Like, it's not just about making money.
Yeah.
It's about adopting a whole new way of thinking about wealth.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Like, how would you define that?
Well, a wealth mindset, it's about seeing potential.
Wow.
It's about seeing abundance.
Okay.
Where others might just see limitations.
Right.
It's believing that you can create wealth.
Yeah.
And Rich Dad, Poor Dad is packed with examples of how to do that.
So it's less about feeling stuck and more about seeing opportunities.
Exactly.
Even if it's, using your Spanish fluency in a new way.
Totally.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Notebook LM actually found a definition that, nails it.
Oh, okay.
A wealth mindset focuses on creating and adding value, while a scarcity mindset fixates on fear and lack.
Wow.
So it's like that shift in perspective,
Yeah.
It can be incredibly powerful.
Powerful, yeah.
Particularly when you're thinking about, how you can use your Spanish skills.
Right.
Maybe translate those into, tangible assets.
Oh, interesting.
So it's not just about the language itself.
Right.
It's about, what can you do with it?
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
I used to have a real scarcity mindset, always worried about money.
Mm-hmm.
But reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and starting to take those baby steps toward, becoming more financially literate.
Right.
Even just starting to budget better.
Yeah.
Gave me this sense of control that I hadn't really had before.
That's huge.
That's
That's huge.
It really is.
So how about you? Did you have a similar experience?
It was a little different for me.
Oh, yeah.
Shifting to a wealth mindset for me really meant taking a leap of faith.
Okay.
And investing in a side hustle.
Oh, wow.
Which is something I never thought I would do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a big step.
Good for you.
Now, Kiyosaki is really famous.
Yes.
For his breakdown of assets versus liabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're probably familiar with these terms.
Yep, yeah.
But Rich Dad, Poor Dad really brought them into the mainstream.
Totally. Everyone's talking about assets and liabilities now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's common knowledge almost.
Yeah, it's part of the conversation.
And Notebook LM, it actually found a super clear definition.
Okay.
An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
But it's so profound. It's oh, yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, why didn't I think of it that way before?
And it can really change how you view your finances.
Absolutely.
And also how you think about using your skills.
Oh, interesting.
like even your Spanish-speaking skills.
Mm-hmm.
So like, okay, assets are things that generate income or increase in value.
Like investments.
Yeah, like rental property or stocks or, things like that.
And then liabilities, well, they're the things that cost you money.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know, those credit card bills we all know and love.
The ones we try to avoid.
Exactly, yeah.
But here's the thing. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was written back in 1997.
Right.
Which feels like a million years ago.
It really does in internet time.
I know. Oh.
Like, so much has changed.
So you got to wonder, do these ideas still hold up?
Yeah.
Like in today's world?
Especially, with everything you're talking about. With the whole, like, hablar en español and building wealth with your language skills.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
It's a big question.
It is a big question.
Yeah.
That's the million-dollar question, really.
It is.
And you know what? It's something that Kiyosaki himself has addressed in like updated versions of the book.
Okay.
And what he says is basically the core principles are timeless.
Okay.
But the types of assets that like we consider, those have definitely evolved. So while Kiyosaki back then focused on traditional assets.
Like the real estate and stocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we talked about.
Now we've got all these other things too.
Like what?
Well, digital assets,
right.
Online businesses, even like intellectual property.
Oh, right.
Things that you can build using your skills.
Like speaking Spanish.
Exactly. It's like hablar en español itself.
Yeah.
Could be considered an asset in our globalized world.
Because it opens doors.
It opens so many doors.
To different, like...
opportunities, like online tutoring, translation services, creating content for a Spanish-speaking audience.
Wow.
All these avenues for generating income and building wealth.
That's where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's like Rich Dad, Poor Dad pushes you to see those opportunities where other people might not.
Exactly.
Especially when you have a skill like speaking Spanish.
It's like you have this secret weapon.
Yeah, it's like a superpower almost.
Totally.
It's amazing.
Welcome back. So we're digging even deeper now into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And this time, we're going to get practical. We're going to explore how you, with your passion for hablar en español, can actually use those language skills to build real wealth.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready for that. We've talked about mindset, we've talked about assets, but I want to know, like, what can someone actually do, especially, using their Spanish-speaking ability?
That's the key question, right? It's all about action. And Kiyosaki, he really stresses the importance of financial literacy. Like, he argues that understanding the language of money, it's absolutely crucial for building wealth. And guess what? Notebook LM just pulled up a really relevant quote here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Financial literacy is the ability to read and understand financial statements, which allows you to identify the strengths and weaknesses of any business.
Okay, so it's not just about, like, saving or budgeting. It's about actually understanding how businesses work.
Right.
That's exactly it. But how does that, like, connect to speaking Spanish?
All right, picture this. You're fluent in Spanish.
Okay.
And you can analyze financial statements in Spanish.
Okay, yeah.
You're not just bilingual.
Right.
You're financially bilingual.
Wow.
That opens up a world of opportunities.
Like what?
Well, think about it. You could analyze businesses in Latin America.
Oh, okay.
You could advise companies that are expanding into Spanish-speaking markets. You could even make, like, savvy investment decisions.
Right.
Based on understanding the financial landscape of those regions.
So it's like you're combining your language skills with this, like, financial knowledge.
To create.
Like, this unique advantage.
Superpower.
Yeah, a superpower that most people wouldn't even think of.
Exactly. It's brilliant. And it aligns perfectly with Kiyosaki's emphasis on creating multiple streams of income.
Oh, right, yeah.
He wants us to think beyond that traditional 9 to 5 and explore ways to generate passive income.
And that's where, I guess, speaking Spanish can really shine.
Oh,
so, like, what kind of passive income streams can someone create with their Spanish skills?
Well, we're living in a digital age.
Right.
Where location hardly matters anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
So, with Spanish fluency, you could create online courses for Spanish learners. You could offer translation or interpretation services remotely.
Yeah.
You could even build an e-commerce business.
Oh, wow.
Catering specifically to a Spanish-speaking market.
Interesting.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Look, like a whole new way of thinking about it. It's not just about speaking the language. It's about using it to unlock opportunities in the global marketplace.
Exactly. And it reminds me of something Kiyosaki said about leveraging talents. Let's see what Notebook LM can dig up here.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. The key to financial freedom is to convert your working hours into investment hours.
I like that. So it's not about working more. It's about working smarter and building something that generates income. Even when you're not actively working on it.
That's the dream, right?
That's the dream.
Passive income. It's like working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Now think about it. You love to hablar en español.
Yeah.
What if you created a series of online Spanish lessons?
Okay.
You built a following on social media by sharing your language and cultural insights, or even wrote an ebook about learning Spanish.
It's a great idea.
Those are all assets that can potentially generate passive income over time.
Wow. Yeah, I love how you're tying all these concepts back to hablar en español.
Of course. It's your passion.
It really shows how this skill, which might seem ordinary to some people, can be transformed into something extraordinary.
Exactly.
With the right mindset and approach.
Mindset is everything.
It really is.
And remember, building wealth, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay.
Kiyosaki, he's all about taking small steps, learning from your missteps, and
Right.
constantly expanding your knowledge.
So it's about, like, taking control, becoming your own financial expert, and never settling for the status quo.
Never settle.
But, okay, so how do we actually put these lessons into practice? Especially for someone who's, wanting to use their Spanish fluency to build wealth.
Well, first and foremost, invest in your financial education.
Okay.
There are tons of resources available online.
Right.
Many of them even in Spanish.
Oh, perfect.
So you can learn in your target language.
Awesome.
Take courses, read books, listen to podcasts. Immerse yourself in the world of finance, but do it through the lens of your Spanish-speaking audience.
That's a really good point.
And don't be afraid to find mentors.
Okay.
Connect with other people who are on the same path.
Right, like a community.
Exactly, because sharing knowledge and experiences is invaluable.
Yeah, especially when you're kind of venturing into uncharted territory.
For sure.
Okay, so you have your goals, you're learning the ropes. Now what?
Create a plan.
A plan, okay.
Break down those big goals into smaller, achievable steps. This makes the process less daunting. Right. And it helps you celebrate those small wins along the way.
Okay.
Remember, it's okay to start small.
Yeah.
Putting away a few dollars a week consistently can snowball into something significant over time.
That makes sense. So it's like consistency and persistence are key.
Absolutely.
Just like with, learning a new language.
Exactly. And speaking of language, don't underestimate the power of networking and building relationships.
Right.
If you're serious about using your Spanish to build wealth, connect with people in the Spanish-speaking community, both online and offline.
Makes sense.
You never know what doors those connections might open.
That's such a valuable reminder. It's all about building bridges and creating that supportive network.
Exactly. You got it. And finally, remember this. Building wealth takes time and effort.
Okay.
There are no shortcuts, no magic formulas.
Right.
It's about making informed decisions, smart money management, and consistently investing in your financial future.
This has been such an eye-opening discussion. We've really explored how the principles of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, combined with the power of hablar en español, can create this unique path to wealth.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see those connections.
It really has.
And it's also amazing to see how technology, like Google's Notebook LM, can help us access and apply this information in a whole new way.
It's like having a personal research assistant guiding us toward financial literacy.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible.
Before we wrap up our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we have one final part to explore where we're going to share some parting thoughts and a call to action for you, so don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive to Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. We've covered so much ground.
Yeah, exploring all these powerful financial principles and, we've been looking at it through this lens of hablar en español.
Yeah, something that's close to your heart. And we've seen how hablar en español can be so much more than just a language.
It's true.
It can be a key that unlocks all these doors in the business world, in investing, even in building online businesses.
It's amazing how it can be, this secret weapon for building wealth.
But before we wrap up, I think we need to address the elephant in the room.
Okay, what's that?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. has its share of critics.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's important to, you know, acknowledge those perspectives too.
Absolutely. It's all about balance.
Right.
You got to look at all sides.
Like some people argue that.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki, he kind of oversimplifies things.
Okay.
Or promotes like risky strategies. That might not be suitable for everyone.
Right. Everyone's situation is different.
Exactly.
They can't just apply a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah. And some of his statements can be pretty provocative.
Oh, yeah.
In fact,
I think Notebook LM just flagged a quote. That often sparks debate.
Okay, what is it?
Employees work to make their bosses rich, not themselves.
Whoa. That's a bold statement.
It is.
It definitely gets people thinking.
It challenges the whole traditional idea of working for someone else.
Right, and it makes you reconsider your own career path.
Yeah.
Especially if you have those, like, entrepreneurial aspirations.
Especially if you're thinking about how you can use your passion for hablar en español to build something for yourself.
Exactly.
And it highlights the importance of being a critical thinker. You know, we can't just accept every piece of advice blindly. We need to analyze it, weigh the pros and cons, see how it fits into our own unique circumstances.
It's like learning any new skill, really.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Whether it's speaking Spanish or managing your finances.
There's a learning curve.
Yeah.
It's okay to make mistakes along the way.
As long as we learn from them.
Absolutely. That's how you grow.
So, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it provides like a framework, a new way of thinking about wealth.
But it's up to each individual to take those ideas and apply them in a way that makes sense for their own life and goals.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder.
Okay, I like that.
Knowing what we've learned about both traditional and modern assets. How might someone who wants to hablar en español use those skills to create a life of financial freedom and abundance?
Wow, that's a great question. It's something to really think about.
It is.
I mean, the possibilities are endless when we combine passion, skill, and a wealth mindset.
And it's been so exciting using Google's Notebook LM to unlock all these insights from Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's a powerful tool.
It really is.
For learning and growth.
Yeah, it shows the potential of technology to help us in ways we never imagined.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a powerful catalyst for anyone seeking financial freedom. And it's been a pleasure sharing this journey of exploration with you.
Likewise, I've learned so much. And we encourage you to keep digging into these concepts. You know, find what resonates with you and start taking action.
Yeah, don't just let this be a passive listening experience.
Right. Turn it into something real.
Take what you've learned and make it work for you.
Remember, building wealth, it's a journey, not a destination.
So enjoy the ride.
With the right mindset.
Knowledge.
And a sprinkle of that hablar en español magic.
Oh, yeah.
You can achieve anything you set your mind to.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.